My beloved child, before you continue with another distraction, before your thoughts pull you back into worry, before you tell yourself this is just another ordinary message, stop for a moment and truly listen. Because this moment was not arranged by accident. You did not arrive here randomly. Something guided you here, and deep within your spirit, you already feel it. There is a reason your heart suddenly became still. There is a reason these words found you at this exact moment in your life. There is a reason you could not simply scroll away. Listen carefully now, because heaven has interrupted your path for a reason. The Holy Bible says in Isaiah 43:19, "Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth, my child." The new thing has already begun. Even if you cannot fully see it yet, even if your outer world still looks the same, even if your heart still carries exhaustion from battles nobody else understands, something has shifted, quietly, deeply, irreversibly, and what you are feeling lately is not your imagination. That heaviness, that strange emotional exhaustion, that feeling that something around you no longer fits the person you are becoming. It is not random. It is the sound of an old season collapsing. My beloved, hear me carefully now. You have spent too long surviving in environments that slowly drained your spirit. Too long pretending to be okay while carrying burdens no one ever noticed. Too long smiling in front of others while silently asking yourself at night if things would ever truly change. And yet, even during those nights, I never left you. I saw every silent tear. I heard the prayers you were too tired to finish. I watched you sit in silence, staring into darkness, wondering why your soul felt so restless, even when nothing around you appeared wrong. But what you could not see was that heaven was already moving. Long before this moment, long before this message, long before your breakthrough became visible. There were things I had to remove from your life before I could reveal what comes next. And that is why certain people became distant. That is why some doors suddenly closed. That is why some places stopped feeling like home. You thought everything was falling apart, but my child, it was not destruction, it was separation. I was pulling you away from what could no longer carry your destiny. Stay with me now, because this next part matters deeply. You keep asking why your spirit has felt different lately. Why ordinary conversations suddenly exhaust you. Why your tolerance for fake connections has disappeared. Why noise has become unbearable. Why you crave silence more than entertainment. You thought something was wrong with you, but the truth is your spirit has started awakening. The old version of you cannot continue into the place I am preparing. And that is why you feel caught between two worlds. One part of you is still grieving what was familiar, but another part of you can already feel me calling you forward. This is the interruption from heaven, not to destroy you, not to shame you, not to condemn you, but to awaken you before it is too late. My beloved, there are moments in life where destiny whispers softly before it suddenly changes everything. This is one of those moments. Do not ignore it. Do not talk yourself out of what you are feeling right now, because your spirit recognizes my presence even when your mind still struggles to understand it. I know how tired you have become, tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of carrying emotional wounds that nobody ever apologized for. There were times you questioned your own worth because people only appreciated you when you were helping them carry their problems. But who carried yours? Who sat beside you when your heart felt heavy? Who noticed the pressure building quietly inside your soul? I did. I always did. Even when you believed heaven had gone silent. My child, my silence was never abandonment. I was working in places you could not yet see. There were battles surrounding your future that you knew nothing about. There were dangers you never noticed because my hand protected you before they ever reached you. You call it coincidence, you call it luck. But it was me, the delayed plans, the unexpected detours, the closed relationships, the uncomfortable endings. I know some of them broke your heart, but had I allowed certain things to continue, They would have broken your spirit completely, so I interrupted them, because I love you too much to let you remain where you were slowly dying inside. And now, here you are, at the edge of a new season. You can feel it, can't you? Something inside you no longer wants shallow living. You no longer desire empty conversations that leave your soul drained. You no longer want temporary comfort that keeps you spiritually asleep. You want peace. Real peace. The kind the world cannot manufacture. The kind that reaches the deepest wounded places inside you. And my beloved child, that peace begins the moment you stop running from my voice. Listen closely. There is a reason your spirit became restless. There is a reason your old routines suddenly feel empty. There is a reason you feel emotionally disconnected from places you once begged to stay in. Because your soul knows what your mind has not fully accepted yet. You cannot remain where your growth is being suffocated. My child, this message is your confirmation. The discomfort you feel is not punishment. It is transition. You are being moved quietly, carefully, deliberately. And yes, transition feels uncomfortable. Because before new life emerges, old patterns must break. Before healing fully begins, hidden wounds must be exposed. Before purpose becomes visible, isolation often comes first. That is why lately you have felt emotionally pulled away from certain people. Not because you hate them, not because you became cold, but because your spirit can no longer survive in environments that constantly exhaust your peace. And still you keep wondering if you are imagining all this. You are not. My beloved, let me tell you something you desperately need to hear tonight. Your life is not falling apart. It is being rearranged. Every painful separation, every confusing delay, every unanswered question, every silent night, every moment you thought you were losing yourself. I was using all of it to prepare you for the version of yourself that is now beginning to emerge. This is why the enemy tried so hard to distract you recently. Through fear, through anxiety, through exhaustion, through endless mental noise. Because the closer you move toward awakening, the louder confusion becomes. But hear me clearly now. Fear will not stop what I have already started in your life. Doubt will not cancel your calling. People's opinions cannot destroy what heaven has chosen. And the pain of your past does not have authority over your future anymore. You are not the same person you were before this season began. Something inside you has already changed. Even now, while you listen to these words, I am strengthening the part of you that almost gave up. I am breathing hope back into places that became numb from disappointment. I am restoring what fear tried to steal from you, but you must stay close now. Do not return to the voices that keep pulling you backward. Do not return to the patterns that kept your spirit trapped in survival mode. Do not ignore this interruption from heaven, because this moment matters more than you realize. The next chapter of your life is beginning quietly before it appears visibly. And soon, very soon, you will understand why everything had to happen the way it did. But for now, simply breathe. Release the pressure. Release the fear. Release the need to understand everything immediately. And hear my voice above every other voice competing for your attention. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not losing your mind. You are being awakened. And this, my beloved child, is only the beginning. My beloved child, there is something I need you to understand before you continue carrying this silent fear inside your heart. You are not becoming weak. You are not losing yourself. And you are not broken beyond repair. The reason you have felt so different lately is because the person you used to be can no longer survive in the place where I am taking you. Listen carefully now, because what you are experiencing is deeper than emotion. It is deeper than stress. It is deeper than exhaustion. Something within your spirit has started awakening, and that awakening is changing the way you see everything around you. That is why certain conversations suddenly feel empty. That is why loud places drain you faster than before. That is why you sometimes sit in silence without understanding why your soul feels overwhelmed for no visible reason. You keep trying to explain it logically, but my child, not every spiritual transformation can be explained by the mind immediately. Some changes are first felt in the soul long before they become visible in your outer life. The Holy Bible says in Romans 12:2, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Transformation always feels uncomfortable before it feels peaceful, because the old version of you resists leaving. The old fears resist dying. The old habits resist surrendering. And the old wounds keep trying to convince you that nothing will ever truly change. But I tell you now, change has already begun. Quietly, deeply, even now while you hear these words. My beloved, you have spent years adapting to survival. You learned how to carry pain without speaking about it. You learned how to hide emotional exhaustion behind smiles. You learned how to remain available for everyone else while neglecting your own spirit. And eventually, you became so used to carrying heaviness that you mistook it for your personality. But that weight was never your identity. It was only the result of surviving seasons that were never meant to last forever. And now your spirit is reacting because I am teaching you how to live differently. This is why rest feels unfamiliar. This is why peace sometimes feels uncomfortable. This is why part of you still expects disappointment even when good things begin approaching your life. Because survival trained your mind to prepare for pain before joy. But I am healing that within you. Slowly, patiently, lovingly, stay with me now. Because this next part explains what you have been feeling lately. There are nights when you feel emotionally distant from everyone around you, even from people you love, and that feeling scares you. You wonder if your heart is becoming cold. You wonder if something inside you is shutting down emotionally. But my child, your heart is not becoming cold. It is becoming discerning. You are starting to recognize what drains your spirit and what restores it. You are beginning to notice which environments leave you empty and which ones bring you peace. And because this awareness is new to you, it feels confusing. Sometimes you want connection, but at the same time, you crave isolation. Sometimes you want someone to understand you, but you are too exhausted to explain what is happening inside you. I know, I see the conflict within you. You are standing between who you were and who you are becoming. And transition often feels lonely, not because I abandoned you, but because growth changes your appetite. Things that once entertained you no longer satisfy your spirit. Places that once felt exciting now feel spiritually heavy. Conversations that once distracted you now leave you emotionally drained. You thought you were simply tired, but your soul has started rejecting what no longer aligns with your future. My beloved child, hear me carefully. Not everyone will understand the season you are entering. Some people only knew the version of you that constantly sacrificed your peace to keep others comfortable. Some only benefited from your exhaustion. Some became familiar with the version of you that tolerated disrespect, overextended yourself, and ignored your own emotional needs. But that version of you is fading now. And because of that, some relationships will begin shifting naturally. Do not fear this. Not every separation is punishment. Sometimes separation is protection. Sometimes distance is healing. Sometimes silence is preparation. And sometimes I remove your attachment to certain people because they cannot follow you into your next season. I know that hurts because your heart still loves deeply. You still want everyone to come with you. But not everyone is assigned to your future. Some people were only part of your survival season, and if they remained, they would slow down the healing I am trying to complete within you. My beloved, you keep asking why your emotions feel so intense lately, why random memories suddenly return, why old wounds suddenly reopen, why certain nights feel unbearably heavy. It is because healing is not only comfort. Healing is exposure. Before I remove pain fully, I often reveal where it has been hiding. That is why you suddenly remember moments you thought you forgot. That is why tears appear without warning. That is why certain words affect you more deeply now. Your soul is releasing what it carried silently for too long. And yes, release can feel painful before it feels freeing. But do not run from the process, because this healing is necessary for where I am taking you next. You cannot enter peace while still chained to hidden wounds. You cannot fully embrace new blessings while secretly believing you do not deserve them. You cannot walk confidently into your future while dragging fear from your past behind you. So I am healing the roots now, not just the symptoms, not just the surface. The roots, the hidden fears, the buried disappointments, the quiet self-hatred, the exhaustion nobody knew you carried. I am touching all of it. And that is why your spirit feels different lately. Something inside you is finally waking up after years of emotional survival. My child, there is another reason you have felt emotionally overwhelmed recently. You have been hearing too many voices. The voice of fear, the voice of pressure, the voice of comparison, the voice of regret, the voice reminding you of every failure, the voice saying you are too late, too damaged, too lost, too weak. But hear me clearly now. Those voices are not mine. I do not speak hopelessness into my children. I do not shame you into transformation. I do not remind you of your failures to keep you trapped in guilt. My voice brings clarity. My voice brings peace. My voice calls you forward, not backward. That is why the enemy keeps trying to fill your mind with noise, because confusion is the easiest way to delay your awakening. If he can keep you doubting yourself, you will hesitate. If he can keep you emotionally exhausted, you will stop moving forward. If he can convince you that nothing is changing, you may return to the very places I rescued you from. But my beloved, do not go backward now. Not after everything you survived. Not after the growth already happening within you. Not after the prayers you cried through tears when nobody else saw you breaking inside. This season is different. You are different. Even now, you are becoming more aware of my presence. You feel it in quiet moments. You feel it when the world becomes too loud and suddenly your soul longs for silence. You feel it during those late hours when something deep inside you whispers that your life is about to change. And you are right, it is changing. Even if the evidence has not fully appeared yet, do not measure transformation only by external results. Some of the greatest miracles begin invisibly. A seed underground looks lifeless before it breaks through the surface. And in the same way, much of what I am doing inside you is still hidden. But soon, what has been happening internally will begin appearing externally. Peace will replace confusion, clarity will replace fear, strength will replace exhaustion, and purpose will replace survival. But first, you must stop fighting the transformation. Stop apologizing for needing peace. Stop feeling guilty for protecting your spirit. Stop forcing yourself to remain connected to environments that constantly wound your soul. My beloved child, your spirit already knows you cannot stay where you were. The season has shifted. And although part of you still fears the unknown, another part of you already senses the truth. Your old life is ending quietly, so your real life can finally begin. My beloved child, this next part matters deeply, because what you are experiencing right now is not merely stress. It is not random confusion. It is not meaningless resistance. There is a silent war happening around you, and the reason the pressure suddenly increased is because your breakthrough is closer than you realize. The Holy Bible says in Ephesians 6:12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." Listen carefully now. Not every battle in your life began in the visible world. Some battles started long before you noticed the symptoms. That heaviness in your spirit, that sudden confusion, that exhaustion that sleep cannot cure. That strange feeling that something keeps blocking your peace no matter how hard you try to move forward. You thought it was bad luck, but my child, it was resistance. Because there are moments in life when the closer a soul moves toward healing, purpose, and awakening, the stronger the opposition becomes. And lately, haven't you noticed it? The strange delays, the unexpected arguments, the emotional attacks that appear suddenly without warning, the overthinking that becomes louder at night, the fear that whispers you are failing even when you are trying your best. This is not happening because you are weak. It is happening because something inside you is beginning to awaken. The enemy does not fear the version of you that lives numb, distracted, and spiritually asleep. The enemy fears the version of you that finally recognizes your worth. The version of you that stops begging for acceptance from people who continuously wound your spirit. The version of you that starts listening to my voice instead of fear. That is the version of you heaven is calling forward now, and that is why resistance increased. My beloved, there are people around you who cannot understand the shift happening inside your soul. Some will call you distant, others will say you changed. Some may even become uncomfortable with your silence because your growth exposes the emptiness they try to hide within themselves. But do not hate them. This battle is deeper than what your eyes can see, because many times the enemy works quietly through discouragement, confusion, emotional exhaustion, temptation, distraction, and fear. Not always through dramatic destruction. Sometimes the greatest attack is simply keeping you mentally drained, long enough that you stop believing your life can change. Stay with me now, because what I am about to reveal explains the season you have been living through. There are spiritual battles that happen before visible breakthroughs arrive. Before new doors open, confusion often increases. Before healing manifests, emotional warfare intensifies. Before purpose becomes clear, chaos attempts to distract you. Why? Because darkness trembles when a soul starts moving toward the light. And my beloved child, your spirit has already started moving. Even if you still feel afraid, even if doubt still speaks loudly in your mind, even if part of you still questions whether you are truly capable of becoming who I created you to be, the war intensified because your breakthrough drew near. Think about your recent battles carefully. Why did certain attacks suddenly increase the moment you started trying to heal? Why did discouragement grow stronger the moment you began seeking peace? Why did some people become strangely hostile when you finally started setting boundaries? Why did fear become louder when you began praying more deeply? Because the enemy recognized movement before you did. You thought you were falling apart, but spiritually, you were beginning to rise. And what you called chaos, heaven called transition. My child, not every voice speaking into your life deserves access to your spirit. Some voices were sent to confuse you. Some were sent to keep you emotionally exhausted. Some were sent to make you doubt what I already spoke over your future. That is why lately you feel emotionally sensitive around certain people. Your spirit is discerning what your mind keeps trying to ignore. You keep calling it overthinking, but many times it is discernment. Your soul recognizes environments that drain your peace. It recognizes conversations filled with hidden negativity. It recognizes relationships built on control rather than love. And now your spirit is becoming too awake to comfortably remain in places that suffocate your growth. This silent war is not only external, it is internal too, because the greatest battlefield lately has been your mind. The enemy keeps replaying old failures, old embarrassments, old heartbreaks, old regrets. Why? Because if darkness can keep you emotionally chained to your past, you will fear stepping into your future. That is why lately memories returned unexpectedly. That is why anxiety suddenly increased during quiet moments. That is why you feel mentally attacked at night when nobody else can hear the battle happening inside you. But listen carefully, my beloved. The thoughts attacking you are not your identity. Fear is not your identity. Confusion is not your identity. You are not the lies spoken against your spirit. You are not the mistakes you survived. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are mine. And the closer you move toward the destiny prepared for you, the more aggressively darkness tries to convince you to stop walking forward. But this next part matters deeply. The opposition surrounding you is actually confirmation. Because darkness does not attack empty destinies. The enemy does not waste energy fighting people who remain spiritually asleep forever. Resistance increases around those carrying purpose. And whether you realize it yet or not, you carry something valuable inside you. Something heaven placed within you long ago. Something the world tried to silence. Something pain tried to bury. Something betrayal tried to destroy. But it survived. You survived. Even after everything that attempted to break your spirit, you are still here listening to these words right now. That alone should tell you something. You were protected more times than you know. There were moments you almost gave up completely. Moments you nearly walked away from hope. Moments you secretly wondered if life would ever feel peaceful again. Yet somehow, you continued moving forward. Do you truly think that was only your own strength? No, my child. I was carrying you through battles your eyes could not fully see. I was protecting your mind when fear tried to consume you. I was preserving your heart when disappointment hardened it. I was guiding you even when confusion surrounded you. And now the enemy fears what happens next. Because the version of you emerging from this season is stronger than the version that entered it. You are learning discernment. You are learning boundaries. You are learning how to protect your peace. You are learning how to hear my voice above emotional noise. And once a soul truly learns that, chains begin breaking. That is why distraction has become so aggressive lately. Notice it carefully. Every time you start becoming emotionally still, something suddenly tries to pull your attention away. Endless noise, fearful thoughts, unexpected drama, mental exhaustion, emotional confusion. Why? Because stillness is dangerous to darkness. In stillness, you begin hearing me clearly. And once my voice becomes louder than fear, your entire life begins changing. This is why the enemy keeps trying to keep your spirit overwhelmed. Because overwhelmed souls struggle to discern truth. But my beloved child, I am calling you higher now. Do not let fear interpret your season anymore. Do not let anxiety define your identity. Do not let discouragement convince you that your life has no direction. You are in a battle, yes, but you are not fighting alone. Heaven stands beside you, even now, especially now, and soon, very soon, the same pressure that tried to crush you will become proof of how close your breakthrough truly was all along. One day you will look back at this season and realize what you thought was bad luck was actually resistance. What you thought was punishment was actually preparation. What you thought was the end was actually the beginning of your awakening. So do not quit now. Do not return to emotional darkness now. Do not allow temporary fear to make permanent decisions for your future. The war increased because your breakthrough is near. The attacks intensified because your spirit started waking up. And the enemy grew louder because heaven already marked you for something greater than your past. Now breathe deeply, my child. The battle is real, but so is my protection. And what I began in your life, no darkness will be able to stop.